Okay, here I am about to drop my next big release. Are you ready? Is it going to be a backtrack summer? Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Tom's Hit Parade. By the way, I invite you to hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up if you like what you see, share this video with your friends, and leave me your thoughts down in the comment section. Woohoos all around. So yes, apparently I felt like bringing on the nostalgia this year for my YouTube channel. Not only did I bring back playlist for the first time in 4 years, 3 or 4 years, but I've also decided to bring back backtracks. But there is a big asterisk on this, as I kind of hinted at with my cold open there. This is very much different from the backtracks that my long-term viewers are familiar with. Yes, way back for the first 4 years of my channel, I think, I would do a monthly feature, which I called Backtracks, in which I would shout out the anniversaries, 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. year anniversaries of an array of noteworthy albums each month. Some of them albums I owned, some of them I didn't own. And for the finale of each episode, I would have chosen ahead of time, obviously, and bought on vinyl whenever possible one or two, occasionally three. I was a glutton for punishment those months. Other albums that I had never listened to before, listen to them before doing the episode, and then do a little review of them at the end of the episode. And it was a lot of fun. I discovered several albums that continue to be my favorites to this day. But as you might imagine, it was a major grind. And after, it started out very, very simple. I would just name the artist and album. I eventually evolved into doing a 30-second-ish spiel about each album, the chart peaks, notable singles, and usually a little bit random trivia note about each album. Took a lot of research. The filming was sometimes exhausting. It was so many takes. I really wanted to get each video just right. That was back when I was much more of a perfectionist about the videos on my channel. I've since realized that I like the loose conversational flow type of thing here. So yes, I kind of outgrew backtracks, and to tell you the truth, it got to be so much of a slog that I started resenting doing backtracks, and that was the sign of, okay, I need to stop. As much fun as I had doing that feature, and as much as I learned myself about the history of music, it kind of ran its course. I had to let it go. Otherwise, it might have meant the end of my channel altogether. You can imagine the research involved. As soon as I researched, uh, scripted, filmed, edited, and uploaded the January installment, for instance, right away it was time to start working on the February one, or I wouldn't have gotten it done. And one of the things that was inherently laborious or tedious about that feature is that, as you might imagine, there's a lot of contradictory information on the internet, particularly about what month and year certain albums were released. So yeah, it's that was just one of the little things that just started eating away at my nerves throughout that. But anyway, I chose to abandon backtracks as much uh, positive feedback as I got from it, and as much fun as viewers had with it. You know, this guy started to not have fun with it, so I just had to end it. But fast forward a few years, I watch a YouTube channel called The Alan Rosenberg Show. Great YouTube channel, check it out. Alan's a lot of fun to watch, and since 2021, he has done a series which he calls Time Capsule, in which he talks about his favorite albums from 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. He started with the 1970s. So in 2021, he did 1971, 81, 91, 2001, 2021, or 2011, excuse me. And so forth. Each year he would cycle through, and he would do a different video for each year. And he did all of his time capsule videos during the month of January. I am not nearly that ambitious. This Backtracks is going to be one video every other month. I'm starting it a little bit late, so it's probably going to be there are probably going to be a few consecutive months with videos. But anyway, I thought it was a fun little segment, And yeah, he just talks about his, as I said, counts down his top 10 usually favorite albums from each year. This year, though, he actually started doing the 1960s. So he started his time capsule series this year with 1965 and on forward. So, and I had actually been wanting to, for the last 2 or 3 years, been wanting to revisit my favorite albums lists from 10 and maybe 20 years ago. So I just kind of, the more that I watched Alan Rosenberg's time capsule videos, I thought, you know, I'm going to be inspired by, aka steal, that idea. And the next step was thinking of a name for it. And any other name that I tried to pick sounded cheesy and dorky or just not appropriate. So I figured, why not resurrect the Backtracks name, if in name only, and rechristen this, Backtracks 2.0, if you will. But yes, I thought it would be a lot of fun. Obviously, this series is expected to last a good 10 years at least. And I'm going to be a little bit more daring. Well, yes and no. I'm going to be a lot less daring in not trying to do all of these videos in 1 month, but I'm going to be a little bit more daring, or maybe a little more ambitious, in going all the way back to 1955. Great Scott! So yes, I did. I actually did already have a couple of albums on hand from 1955, and one thing that I want to do with this series, like I did with the original Backtracks, is investigate, explore albums that I have never listened to before, and maybe, like I did with Backtracks 1.0, find some new favorites. I'm going to try and do each month have 10 favorite albums with at least a couple of honorable mentions. Um, Getting into maybe the 80s or 90s, I've already, as you can tell, banged out a rough unranked list so far of each year for this year's videos, and I found quite a bit from 1985 and 2005. Not as many from 1995 as either of those 2 years, strangely enough. But so I don't know if those years later on are going to have longer lists or not. But yeah, at least 10. And I will admit that the lists are going to be weird. I'm going to tell you right from the bat, do not expect the kind of lists that you would get from anybody else, because the lists will only be populated by the albums that I own. And, from the 70s, I'm actually building a bit of a better 70s collection, but like from before the 70s, my selection's a little bit thin. Hopefully, as I mentioned, with anticipating each month's video, maybe I intend to explore more albums from those earlier years. I've always wanted to um, make myself a little more well versed in music of the years before I was born. So this is another good chance for me to do that in these videos. So anyway, this long preamble explanation is pretty much out of the way. I don't think I forgot to say anything. So let's go ahead and start in my list. I actually just have one honorable mention and 10 ranked albums, which are my favorite albums from 1955. So let's go ahead and get started. My honorable mention is Music from a Summer Night by the Boston Pops Orchestra, conducted by Arthur Fiedler. This was actually, I'm going to be totally honest, this was in the freebies shelf at the House of Records, but it was, perfectly timed because I was on the lookout for 1955 albums, and this was there. So, and of course, I've always enjoyed the Boston Pops Orchestra, especially as conducted by John Williams, and so I figured, delve into. I've got a couple of Boston Pops albums under Fiedler, so I thought I would add one more to my collection. This one's kind of fun, you know. It's nothing spectacular, which is why it's an honorable mention. See, we've got Liebestraum by Franz Liszt. It's mostly classical pieces. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. We've got Liebestraum by Liszt, Liebesleid by Kreisler, and Liebesfreude by Kreisler. I don't know what those words mean, but lots of Liebes in this album, obviously. So yes, Music for a Summer Night by the Boston Pops Orchestra is my honorable mention for 1955. Great Scott! I told you these lists are going to be weird. Number 10 on my list, as I peel off the rank numbers so I don't forget where I'm at, we have the soundtrack from Oklahoma, the 1955 musical movie with, I cannot remember, I won't look it up. It's famous people, I'm sure. Anyway, yes, A lot of several famous songs came out of this musical, as was the case with a lot of movie musicals from Hollywood's golden era. "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning" is probably the best known song, aside from maybe the title track "Oklahoma." That is, by the way, that's where the wind goes sweeping down the plain, in case you didn't know. Anyway, it's a fun soundtrack. I had never listened to the soundtrack all the way through until starting to do my homework for this video. And the Surrey with the Fringe on Top is another cute song. There are a couple of funny songs in here as well. So I do need to watch the movie. I have not watched the movie yet, but yes, I figure, yeah. And this has actually compelled me a little bit to start delving more into classic Hollywood musicals. It's a genre that I was never really into at all growing up, but hopefully, maybe in these coming years, I will get a little bit more into musicals. So, number 10 in my favorite albums of 1955 is the soundtrack from Oklahoma. Number 9, and this is another genre I've been wanting to get a little bit more into, is classic jazz from the 50s and 40s, 50s, and 60s. Number 9 on my list is Thelonious Monk Plays Duke Ellington. I've got an Ellington compilation, and I also have a Thelonious Monk compilation, but I have never really delved much into Monk or Ellington. This is a great, great album with a lot of great jazz standards. Sophisticated Lady, It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing, I Got It Bad and That Ain't Good, Mood Indigo, it's a beautiful, beautiful song. Caravan is one of my favorite classic jazz standards. I Let a Song Go Out of My Heart, and yeah, this is a great album. Um, I would recommend it if you like jazz piano. Check out Duke Ellington or Thelonious Monk for that matter. Either this album or probably any of his albums, I would imagine, are excellent. So yes, my number 9 pick is Thelonious Monk Plays Duke Ellington. Excellent stuff. Yeah, I'm really hoping that this. I'm excited about this new version of Backtracks to try and delve into classic albums. Case in point, number 8 on my list is Chet Atkins in 3 Dimensions. Yes, he does some folk songs on here, some pop songs, as well as a few classical pieces. So those being the 3 dimensions that he covers in here. So yes, Londonderry Air is a great classic folk song he does there. Popular songs, well, from the era, the 1950s. Blues in the Night and Tenderly are the representation for popular songs. And then, interestingly, Tiptoe Through the Tulips with Me is listed under the classics. Oh, actually, no, it's listed under the pop songs. But yes, the only version of that I knew was Tiny Tim's rather interesting version of Tiptoe Through the Tulips. So it was fun to hear an instrumental version. And of course, Chet Atkins is an absolute master on the guitar. And if you love guitar, instrumental guitar, you can't not love Chet Atkins, in my opinion. He's just great. He is not to be missed. Yeah, and yeah, we've got some Chopin, which is a guitar playing Chopin is interesting. A couple of Bach pieces. So yes, it is a very well-rounded and three-dimensional album. So yeah, check out Chet Atkins in 3D. I would recommend that. That is my number 8 favorite album of 1955. My number 7 pick is Tony Bennett's first studio album, Cloud 7. Yes, Tony Bennett had it right from the beginning, and he had it right up until the end, I gotta say. Some great, great pieces on here. And yes, obviously had a little bit rougher around the edges than Sinatra or, those other singers. But yes, I Fall in Love Too Easily, My Baby Just Cares for Me is a great song. Old Devil Moon is where he really kind of gets into the swinging, upbeat kind of stuff. Let's see. Oh, Give Me the Simple Life. That's probably my favorite song on this album. Give Me the Simple Life. While the Music Plays On is another great one. I Can't Believe That You're in Love with Me. This is a fantastic album. I'm looking forward to. He's actually got another one from 1975, I think it was. Yeah. So you may or may not, depending on what stuff I discover between now and the 1975 installment, you might be seeing him again on my list. But yeah, Cloud 7 by Tony Bennett is my number 7. Uh, Total coincidence, favorite album of 1955. Great Scott! Number 6 is an artist who very prolific and a very major figure in the jazz world, Dave Brubeck with his album Brubeck Time. It's maybe not as good as his the Time Out albums. Yeah, Time Out and Further Time Out, or Time Further Out. But it's great. It's Dave Brubeck. I mean, he's fantastic. He was fantastic from beginning to end. And yes, his takes on several classic pop songs like Jeepers Creepers, A Fine Romance, Pennies from Heaven, Brother Can You Spare a Dime. I don't think there were any songs about nickels on here. But yeah, some great stuff. Dave Brubeck, he's an artist that I had been meaning to delve more into. I mean, all I had before this, I think, were the two Time Out albums. I think I had one more. But yeah, and this is giving me a good excuse, is that the word, for delving more into Dave Brubeck as time goes on. Number 5, we are moving into the top 5 of my favorite albums from 1955. Number 5 is In the Wee Small Hours by Frank Sinatra. And this has the distinction of being pretty much the very first concept album. Songs about heartbreak and love and loss and that kind of thing. It's a fantastic album, a spectacular album. It goes a long way toward showing what all the fuss was about Frank Sinatra. That voice, even though Tony Bennett's rougher voice appeals to me more, you can't deny the finesse of Frank Sinatra's voice. And yes, the title track, Mood Indigo, as was on the Thelonious Monk album. I Get Along Without You Very Well. Last Night When We Were Young. That's one of my favorite song titles of all time. Is that one? Last Night When We Were Young. So yes, if you are looking to be cheered up, don't play this album. This is for people who are suffering heartbreak and need to know that somebody suffered it with them. So yeah, this is a heartbreak album, but it is still an excellent album. In the Wee Small Hours by Frank Sinatra is my number 5 pick. But they are just getting better from here. Number 4 is Sarah Vaughan in Hi-Fi. Sorry about the reflection from my CD racks there. But yes, Sarah Vaughan in Hi-Fi. This was basically, I think this was her first album. Anyway, at least her one and only album with Columbia Records, at least. But yeah, you've heard about Sarah Vaughan. This album is pretty much why you've heard so much about Sarah Vaughan. Gorgeous voice. East of the Sun, West of the Moon. Nice Work If You Can Get It. That's one of my favorite songs, classic pop songs. Come Rain or Come Shine. It Might As Well Be Spring. Ain't Misbehavin'. The Nearness of You. Not only is it fantastic, amazing vocals, it's just a great lineup of songs on here. That's just, yeah. So she is just fantastic. Sarah Vaughan, yet another artist I had been meaning to check out in more depth. And I am definitely glad I checked this one out. Actually, I bought this one before I had decided to do the 1955 thing. So several of these albums I had bought or had been meaning to buy before deciding to revive Backtracks. Number 3 on my list, another artist that I have really gotten into in the last several years, Chet Baker. Yes, Chet Baker Sings and Plays is the official title of this album. Yeah, I can't remember where I got them, but I got 4 or 5 Chet Baker albums. I think I bought a big lot of like 15 jazz CDs on eBay, and 3 or 4 Chet Baker ones were in amongst them. And yes, with each album of his that I hear, I appreciate Chet Baker more and more. He a great trumpet player. He had a beautiful singing voice as well. And trouble is, this is a Japanese import. It does not list the tracks on here. It lists them in Japanese here. So I have to go looking in. They're on the CD. Actually, I don't need to take out the. So yes, Let's Get Lost. That's a great one. Long Ago and Far Away. Someone to Watch Over Me. That's another one of my favorite old Great American Songbook standards. You Don't Know What Love Is, Just Friends, I Remember You. A beautiful album indeed. There we go. Got it back put together. So anyway, yes, Chet Baker sings and plays my number 3 favorite album of 1955. And for darn good reason. My runner-up for favorite 1955 album is one that, and this one I've had for quite a while. Actually, these top 2 I've had for a while. We have Mahalia Jackson, the world's greatest gospel singer, and the title is no joke. As I've mentioned before, gospel music is not my favorite genre simply because I am not religious. So the lyrics, the meaning of the lyrics is kind of lost on me. But I do appreciate gospel music because of the passion and the feeling behind the singer's voice. And Mahalia has that in spades. An absolutely phenomenal singing voice. And I mean, you could, even for a secular person like me, I could kind of feel the Holy Spirit coming out of her. She's just wonderful. I don't know what else to say. It's difficult to put into words what effect she has on these songs. I'm Going to Live the Life I Sing About in my song that leads off the album. That's a great one. I Will Move On Up a Little Higher. When the Saints Go Marching In, which it's easy to forget that that's a spiritual song. It's a religious song because it's associated so much with New Orleans jazz. But yes, Keep Your Hand on the Plow. Didn't It Rain? That was a cool one. That was kind of a bouncy sort of thing. I know bouncy is probably not the right word, but anyway, yes, the world's greatest gospel singer, Mahalia Jackson. Even if you don't like gospel music, you cannot deny her singing voice. Reaches up into the heavens, and that's no joke. But as much as I loved Mahalia Jackson, I kind of had to put this next album at my number 1 favorite album of 1955. Bill Haley and the Comets, Rock Around the Clock. This one basically kicked off rock and roll. Arguably, there might be somebody else who kind of blazed the trail just before Bill Haley. But yeah, this one is definitely a rock and roll milestone, an absolute staple of the genre. You can't write the history of rock and roll without this album. The title track obviously is on there. He does a rendition of Shake, Rattle, and Roll on there. The ABC Boogie, which is kind of a song about a school teacher and school children, learning to rock, which was probably looked down upon by the parents and authority figures of the 50s. Yes, rock and roll was not appreciated for its first few years, trust me. I don't know that personally. I've seen it in documentaries, okay? Razzle Dazzle, that's a great song. Dim Dim the Lights, I Want Some Atmosphere, that's a great one. Birth of the Boogie, that was a cool song. Mambo Rock, that was a little unusual, but yeah. Rock a Beat and Boogie, that might be Bill Haley's next big hit after Rock Around the Clock. But yeah, obviously, it was totally deserves the number 1 slot on my favorite albums of 1955. Great Scott! Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley and his Comets. So, how's that for the inaugural edition of Backtracks 2.0? Yes, coming up probably next month will be 1965. Got some stuff. I'm still listening to some of the albums in that from that year, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with Backtracks from here on out, and theoretically it'll last 10 years, a 10-year cycle. So I guess that's it. That'll do it for this video. Be sure to like it if you liked it. Before you go, drop me some feedback in the comment section. I would love to know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon to catch my future videos, and hit my username to browse my old videos. Links to my socials and my favorite fellow YouTubers are in the description below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and remember, life's too short to be a music snob.